Okay, it's a very good afternoon. Welcome to your top station. It's going to be Galaxy Radio, right here on the big show with DJ Nyams. And today, this afternoon, I'm joined in by Robert Chapman. Robert Chapman, it's a very good afternoon. Welcome to Galaxy Radio.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to be here and speak with you. Hope you're doing well.
Okay. So, Robert Chapman, a presidential candidate for the 2023 Zimbabwean elections. Where we need to start from maybe is to understand is what the question that everybody's asking. Who is Robert Chapman?
No, great question. That question is coming up a lot. We've answered a few ways, but I'm going to answer it as simple as I can. Robert Chapman is Zimbabwean, Zimbabwean born, Zimbabwean raised. I am a husband. I am a father. I've been in business. I'm just proud to be Zimbabwean. So that's about as simple as I can say it at the moment, but pretty straightforward. Born and raised in Zimbabwe, and excited about what we're doing here.
Okay, maybe just say it. I've heard some people say you can't speak Shona.
Oh no, I was Yona. Propaganda.
Okay, no, that's good. We just had to do all the checks. So where did Robert Chapman grow up in Zimbabwe?
I grew up in Chinoy. I was born in Harare, spent the early part of my childhood in Bindura before my parents passed away. And then after my parents passed away, right before my third birthday, I was raised by my grandparents in Chinoy, in the location of Chinoy.
Okay. So now let's look at the whole political career that you've embarked on. What's the name of your political party? And when was it launched?
No, thank you very much. The political party is called the Democratic Union of Zimbabwe. We held our first press conference on December 10 of 2022, when we introduced ourselves to the world. Some news articles had leaked that we were forming something, and they were correct when they did. Some information leaked out about 6 or 7 months earlier to that. But we had taken about a year and a half to really prepare the organization for that launch, that press conference. We have an upcoming launch or convention now that we know the dates are upon us, which is August 23rd for the voting day. So we've got a launch that is coming. We'll be announcing that very, very soon in the next few days through a press. And all our teams from provincial coordinators, our national team, everyone will be meeting and bringing in our support team for that launch.
Okay. The other question then is, do you guys have structures all around Zimbabwe?
We do. We have national structures, provincial structures, district structures. In some areas, we have structures down to the ward level and even down to the polling station. But we do have structures.
Okay. So when you came up with the idea of the Democratic Union of Zimbabwe, why did you decide to come up with such a party?
Great question. One of the key things that we looked at, nothing was really changing in our political space. As a matter of fact, it was becoming more and more polarized. The conversation was not increasing in the way that we wanted our country to move forward. We just stayed at very narrow politics. But what really did it for me was after the 2018 elections, one of the things that took place is I noticed that the opposition
Okay.
That split of the MDC, Zimbabwe needed a third to create a third option for people. Data to support a lot of folks ensure that seeing the same faces, the same.
Okay. Yeah, we just seem to be having a bit of a connection glitch there, but we hope to be getting Mr. Chapman back on the call. Okay, I think we've just lost. Yeah.
Apologies. I don't know what happened to our connection.
It's okay, no problem. So now, following up to that, Mr. Chapman, what is it that you're giving? What is it that you're doing differently from the other political parties in Zimbabwe?
The very first thing we're doing, Tafaza, to be honest with you, is that we are keeping this thing clean, and we're talking about policies and things that matter to the people. The politics in Zimbabwe is so shallow that we see hate speech. We see, one of the things we're encouraging our team and citizens is not to be violent during these, not to engage in violence on behalf of a political party. It sounds senseless, and it's not worth it, because at the end of the day, we are Zimbabweans. What we're bringing is a very straightforward message. We're very organized, and we're looking at solving real issues, real problems that touch the core of the Zimbabwean people. Right now, our 3 pillars that we're running on is prosperity, justice, and modernization. And we're talking about making sure that Zimbabweans progress through our government and sharing that message. So we're not attacking political parties. We're not attacking political individuals. We're attacking the fact that the government has failed to provide viable solutions for the people in our country.
Okay. So now the election mode has started off. You understand? How have your preparations been going? Leading up to the announcement of the elections. How have the preparations gone in terms of campaigns, going to meet people, in grassroots levels and everything?
They've gone extremely well. Our teams are all over the country right now. We've got a team in Bulawayo. We've got a team in Marondera. I've been in Harare, Mutare. In the last 5 days, I think we've been in 7 cities. So things are going well. The crowds are big. The good thing now with the date coming out, while there's still chaos around the voters' roll, there's obviously chaos in the invitation report. This is where we are. We have to make the best with what's there and make sure that we are encouraging people to come out and vote in their numbers. That's one of the biggest ways to fight election rigging, so to speak. On our end, we have done the legwork on the ground, where now we're starting to enter a real campaign season as we come into the last 90 days of the leading up to the voting day.
So during your campaigns and getting to different structures and the communities, how are people receiving you? The Democratic Party, the Democratic Union of Zimbabwe, how are people receiving you guys?
They're receiving us extremely well. Our numbers are very, very large. Everywhere we go, we have large crowds. We make sure, and the folks that are there are really starting to engage in our message. People are really tired. The ground is different from social media. Unless you're on the ground here and you're going from touring city to city and you're meeting people, shaking hands, talking to them about their problems, you realize that is completely different from what's out in the space that's out there. We're being received very, very well. One of the key things that people are really caught on to is that the entire system has failed them. That includes ZANU-PF and the various factions of opposition that are in government. They're looking for fresh face, fresh ideas, things that are really tangible in their minds. And I'll tell you this, the rural to urban migration, as well as the rural to urban communication, mean that people live in the rural areas. They're traveling into cities, maybe over the weekend, they earn a little bit of money and they go back. The message of the urban areas is making its way back to the rural areas, where they now know that, what essentially is being considered a stronghold for ZANU-PF is a little bit weaker now, because the message is getting to the folks in the rural areas that going to the urban areas is just as bad. Things are not functional. Things are not working as well as they might think. So the information is getting out now that the entire country is completely failing, at the moment. So we're being received extremely well.
Just a follow up to that. What about those who say, why did you guys just pop up at the 11th hour? Aren't you another ZANU-PF project who's just there to be splitting the vote? How would you respond to that?
No, and that's an easy one to respond to, because that's been asked a lot as well. Yeah, we're not a ZANU-PF project. There's no evidence to support that. Anyone say that, ask them for evidence. We've never met with them. And even if folks are moving from ZANU-PF to DUZ, because of course their primaries are very interesting. There are folks that might be looking for a home. As long as you have the heart and mind to build this country, we want to welcome you. The only prerequisite is you're Zimbabwean. You have the right heart and mind to build the country. But we're not ZANU-PF. And we did not come in the 11th hour. Our political party is actually formed before the former ECs. And so they would actually be sort of their participation in politics. Certainly, they've been around for quite some time. The individuals have participated democratically with the retired We know that people are exhausted with the political dialogue. So it was important that we launched and make sure that we had our home in order and our structures in place as we approach the elections. So no, the timing has been absolutely perfect for us.
What's your take on coalitions? Was if you look at in Zambia and Malawi, because there was a coalition, they managed to win the election. So what's your take on coalitions? And have you tried to engage any other political parties to say, come and let's build a coalition? And how has been the response?
Great question. Coalitions are very important. In fact, they have been successful in Zimbabwe. If we look back at 2008, as long as the right leader was there and they were sharing the right message, that really resonated with the people. Coalitions were very possible. Unfortunately, the politics today, and let me say this, we have reached out to political parties in regard to working together and forming a coalition. Some, as going back to cheap politics, have really focused on politics of personality, not politics of substance and development of the country. So as a result of that, ego gets in the way. People refuse, and people are stuck in positions, or I've been in this thing a little bit longer, even though they've been unsuccessful. You get things like that. So the coalition is very important, but we have to be able to resonate with the same ideology, and we have to be able to resonate with the same outcome that we want. And so we are engaging in conversations there, most certainly. And it is being able to form a coalition creates a unique strength, and it also shows the country that people are united and able to free the people of Zimbabwe from the shackles of the last 42 to 43 years we've experienced.
You're tuning to your top station, Galaxy Radio, and you're talking, it's DJ Nyams, and I'm talking to Robert Chapman, 2023 presidential candidate for the Zimbabwean elections, and we're just catching up with him. And a lot of you guys say to me, DJ Nyams, look for Robert Chapman, we want to hear what he's all about, and let's hear his message and what he's got to offer for Zimbabweans. So, Mr. Chapman, my question then comes to saying, if you're going to participate in the elections and for a reason you don't win the election, what is next for DUZ?
I think the network is bad, unfortunately.
Okay. No, my question is, let's say you go for an election and you don't win the election, right? What's next for DUZ? Okay, we seem to be having some connection challenges once again, but we hope to get Mr. Chapman back on the line there. We will keep trying. The network has dropped, but we'll get Mr. Chapman back on the line. Yeah. So
yes, apologies. The network is pretty bad.
No, it's we understand. So the question was, if you don't win the election as DUZ, what's next after this? Okay,
great question. It's always great question. It's always something very important to consider when looking at the this type of contestation, because the opportunity exists in Zimbabwe. There's one, obviously, that one winner takes all. The second one is the opportunity for a GNU that exists as well. The third one is obviously losing the presidential election, which is obviously very possible. And many people, because at some point a winner is declared, and then we move on from there. For me, for the Democratic Union of Zimbabwe, our goal is to ensure that this is a stepping stone as well for 2028. Our goal is to win in this election. Our goal is to be in government in this election. However, to answer your question, should things not work out is the way we have planned, my goal is to spend the next 5 years making sure that the members of parliament that have been elected under the Democratic Union of Zimbabwe to continue to deliver solid results and stand for what's right. Put in reforms right at the beginning of the parliamentary opening up into the new government that goes into from 2023 to 2028. This is something that opposition has failed to do even when they had control of government. So we will not fail to do that. We will make sure that reforms are made, electoral reforms are made. We're making sure that we're raising real problems and real concerns that represent the people of Zimbabwe. Where we have council and we have mayoral winners, we want to ensure that they are working very hard to make sure they're doing their duties and ensuring that their duties are being delivered correctly. Why is this important? Because that is our portfolio to the people of Zimbabwe in 2028. So this here is a place where we're able to show that we do know how to govern. We've got the right leadership in place, and we can start to show results in 2028. For Robert Chapman personally, my family and I will be here in Zimbabwe, and I'll be working and increasing the visibility on the ground. Again, working with our leaders that are elected through the Democratic Union, but while visiting our rural constituencies around the country. That way, when we come into 2028, people will know who Robert Chapman is around the country without question.
Okay. What about the people who say, why didn't Robert Chapman just start off trying to become a member of parliament in this election? You know, having seen that, you know, it seems to be a two-horse race between CCC and ZANU-PF. How would you respond to that one?
You know, when I hear things like that and they say it's a two-horse race, you know, one of the key things that we generally informed.
Okay, we seem to be having a bad connection there with Robert Chapman, and we'll still keep trying because the connection seems to be really bad where he is. But we'll keep trying to get him back on the line once again because the connection is so bad. We can't hear you, Mr. Chapman. We can't hear you. You're cutting in and out. So maybe we'll have to try that connection once again. You're really cutting in and out. We couldn't even hear your response. So I think you probably have to try that. We'll have to try that connection once again. Yeah.
How is that now?
Okay. That's much better. Let's give it another go.
No worries. Yeah. So for people to say it's a two-horse race, it's just not true. It might have been that way in the past. Of course, we have brought something very fresh, something that people resonate with, which now makes it a three-horse race in this election. It's very important that people acknowledge that we need that in the society. One is that it improves the quality of opposition we have in the country, so it's not just cheap politics. The second part is the country needs a strong opposition, regardless of who the incumbent is. They always ask for strong opposition. So, you know, we get into government in 2023. We need to have a strong opposition. It holds accountable the government of the day. So having a third option ensures that you know, the scales remain balanced to make sure the conversation remains pure and that the people of Zimbabwe are getting results, and that the opposition doesn't get too comfortable, whatever that opposition is, doesn't get too comfortable with just being opposition. There needs to be change.
Okay. So there's a group of people that's always normally left out. These are persons with disabilities. How has the DUZ involved the persons with disabilities in terms of structures, leadership, candidates, and even as you go into different communities? You know, how has DUZ, you know, really been inclusive towards persons with disabilities?
Great question. We have got, which we will be releasing through our manifesto, various solutions and entities where we have things that really support the people with disabilities. More importantly, making sure that we have policies that make sure that people with disability are supported. I noticed that you're blind. My grandfather was blind. He eventually became blind after being a school teacher and a headmaster for quite some time. And one of the things that affected that was the inability to have a functional healthcare system that would help him. He actually became blind because of a failed surgery that took place in Zimbabwe, and unfortunately passed away as such. We want to make sure that not only do we have access to healthcare for people with disabilities, but there are programs in place that allow them to have access to equipment depending on what the disability is. Making sure that discrimination against people with disabilities, that we have policies in place and procedures that protect them. One of those is ensuring that the policing of the country is trained of such, and ensuring that employers do not discriminate when it comes to employment people with disabilities. So we've got a pretty comprehensive program in making sure that and policies we're going to put in place to ensure that those communities are represented well. Here's what I would like to say to folks: if you're someone with disability and you enjoy the political space and you have the heart and mind to build Zimbabwe, please contact either Tafaz or this channel or myself on a social media platform, or visit our website. We would love to engage with you in our political dialogue under the Democratic Union of Zimbabwe. And so that would be hopefully that answers the question, but we do have some pretty strong policies and mechanisms in place, which we'll be sharing at our launch as the manifesto becomes released.
If you win the election, right, how do you plan to change the economy of Zimbabwe? Because it's in a mess. It's sinking.
It is. It's man, what an absolute tragedy. We're in for round 2 now, right? 2008, and here we are, 2023. It's like round 2 all over again. The first thing we have to do with the economy right now is we have to be honest about the debt that we have. We don't have real accountability and ledger to understand what monies are flowing in and what monies are flowing out, and what are our resources. So the first thing we have to do is create levels of accountability and make sure there are measures in place that really help us understand where we are. The second thing is stabilizing inflation. We have to really stop the bleeding. In order to do that, we have to have the right policy. So 80% of any economy is based on policy. So if you see an economy that's not functional, an economy that's not working, that means there's the policy is incorrect. The policy is not working correctly. Right. And when you see the economy the way Zimbabwe is right now, which has been for a while, unfortunately, they've tried so many schemes and mechanisms. It's almost like they don't know what direction they're going. They don't stick with the program. They changed the currency from the US currency before they got some levels of accountability correct. They also made sure that they started going down the gold coins sector. It didn't work quite well. Now we're looking at crypto, which is a digital currency, which is not working out well either. The reason is because people just don't trust the government. They're not honest about what they're doing or what's going on. And if corruption is there, they don't have the right measures in place, which is policy. They don't have the right measures in place to give confidence to society and to the international community that they're pretty serious about it. So bad policy, bad governance leads to where we are today. So we have a pretty good strategy on how we're going to do that. We have to first stop the bleeding. We have to be honest about what our debt looks like nationally, and then we have to start looking at how do we start building Zimbabwe back for Zimbabweans, and then move from there. Where are our local and continental partners where we can start trading and working together, but more importantly, get people working again.
Okay, just a follow up to that one. One of the biggest problems that pulls down a lot of economies internationally, worldwide, is the issue of corruption. How do you hope to address that? Because you can never stop the bleeding as long as corruption is still so rampant, and those who've been corrupt are still working scotch-free.
Yes, indeed. Those that are corrupt are actually walking scot-free. The rule of law is important when it comes to monetary policy and monetary systems. It's extremely, extremely important. And we don't have that. The justice system is selective when it comes to corruption, and so it creates a major problem. This is why one of our 3 pillars is justice, and it sits dead center of prosperity and modernization. We have to improve the justice system and make sure that it works for the people of Zimbabwe. So if someone is corrupt, we have procedures in place, and the police are empowered to ensure that they have the resources they need to fight corruption. So yes, that is a pretty major policy there.
Okay.
Tafazo, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. My light's off here. Okay, let me have the light turn back.
Okay. All right, you're listening to Galaxy Radio, and I'm having a conversation with Robert Chapman, presidential candidate under Democratic Union of Zimbabwe, and they're telling us about what their plan is, what they hope to achieve, what they hope to do as the elections are coming up in Zimbabwe this year. And yeah, it's a great conversation to hear about what he's got on offer. And would you vote for it? Would you vote for the Democratic Union of Zimbabwe? Would you join them? Would you want to be part of them? Based on the conversation that I've had with Mr. Chapman. Yeah.
Yes, I'm back.
Okay. So now, so tell me something, Mr. Chapman. What are the top 3 areas, if you win the election, that you guys will say, we want to first start changing this one, be it finance, health, be it transport, be it which 3 areas would you say are your top priorities to get the economy, to start getting the economy on track?
Yeah, great question. One of and the lights come on now. Sorry, I'm outside in the sunset behind me. Hopefully, it was a good view. The top three things that we're going to put in place immediately. One is we have to reconcile the books. We have to be honest about where we are as a country. So it's a little bit tough to say. We're going in order of 1, 2, 3. So these are not in any choreographical order because they all have to happen at the same time. There's not a single sector in this country that is working. That's a major problem. There's not one. No one can come back and say this sector is improved or this sector is working, functioning well. No one can say that things have progressed in this area. One of the key things that takes place that we look at for us is going to be making sure that we stabilize the economy. And the reason we do that is we want to come back and have real accountability of where things are. There's an issue, of course, making sure that we stop the bleeding when it comes to corruption. We want to empower the police force and look at our monetary policy, our policy from a judicial standpoint to ensure that we're going after ill-gotten gains for folks there. There's issue of pensions and looting. We have to reconcile those as well from a financial standpoint. The big part is we're going to look at industry that already exists in Zimbabwe and try to empower them to increase their production. And the reason we want to empower them to increase production is they become employers. We want people to slowly start moving from the informal sector to the formal sector. And then the one thing we work on with Parliament is start to implement a minimum wage policy where people are actually earning enough money to take care of their families and make sure the kids can go to school. So the priority is going to be the economy right off the bat because that's what people are feeling today. Being able to reduce the cost of goods and services that we see in the store, start looking at budgets for councils and cities around the country, and making sure that implementations of very simple, basic things like clean water and infrastructure, without really building, say new ones immediately. We want to find out why the current ones are not working and can they be repaired, or are we going to be building them again? So an entire set of audits and being able to know where are we, what is our baseline, is going to be one of the first set of things that we do as we get into. We have to know exactly where we are. Right now, it's not so transparent. And that's what creates one of the biggest challenges for most political parties.
Okay. So is DUZ going to field candidates all around the country in all the constituencies?
Yes, we're fielding 100% candidates.
With the considering the budget, if you need almost about $245,000 to field candidates all around the whole country.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, it came down today, I believe. It would have been right at 400,000, but the councils, I believe, that fee was waived today, so now it's around 243,000. That's correct.
Okay, and DUZ has got the financial capacity to field candidates all around the country. We do. Okay, that's great. You seem to have your things in order.
Yes, okay. It makes us uniquely different. One of the things is we look steps ahead. We plan. We try to make sure that we understand things like infiltration. We understand that also harm that can be brought to our people. So we really work to ensure that as we travel from one milestone to the next, we're measuring success and progress.
Okay, what's your take on the diaspora vote, and what role can the diasporans play? Towards this towards the election campaign.
The diaspora plays a big part. Unfortunately, the diaspora has not been recognized both by the current system. So the voting capacity for them won't exist in this election. What I will say is we're going to implement blockchain technology so people can actually participate in the 2028 election. This is why it's important for them to vote for progressive government and vote for progressive leaders, because they understand this type of technology that can be implemented. Where instead of saying, people, you hear questions like, there's no Zimbabwe embassies don't exist around the world. What happens to one voter that's in one country where there's no Zim embassy? Well, with blockchain, that won't really be necessary. They can actually do that, vote from their phone. So we've got some pretty good mechanisms for diaspora vote. The impact the diaspora plays today is extremely critical. One of the reasons why is because the diaspora right now remittances are over $2 billion. Their voice does matter. And what they should be doing, because of, as I'm talking to you, we've obviously had some communication problems due to network data and power. One of the key things that they can do is gather information and then feed it back onto the ground in country, because they're most likely in stable societies where certain information systems work, and they're more informed in some cases than people on the ground. but they are communicating with people on the ground because they're sending those very same people money through remittances. So we encourage the diaspora to share progressive messages, stay away from toxicity online. Usually the diaspora is a big part of that, and really focus on key messages and key growth. You live in a functional society. You know what functional leaders look like. Make sure that you're articulating that to people on the ground, not just personality politics.
So, Mr. Chapman, just to end this interview, I've got two more just questions for you. One of the questions is something that happened this week. What's your take on the patriotic bill?
Oh man, what a devastating blow to our society and democracy and freedom of speech. There's nothing to say other than it was expected. That it's come through. I think what I would share as a message to the people of Zimbabwe is that right now this is not going to be effective in this government. It's still waiting to go, I believe, through 2 other stages. But if people go out and vote in the next 90 days, they put a new leader in. This could be vetoed through executive powers and go through certain opportunities to reverse this bill. It's very unfortunate. It muzzles the voices of reason. It muzzles freedom of speech. We're going into a pretty dangerous territory here, which is very unfortunate. So I know, very disappointing. Again, we just see bad things going through Parliament, or things that should go through Parliament that shouldn't go through Parliament. Limitation and the access to voters' roll. We've got parliamentarians being arrested. Like Bob Sikala. So the whole thing is a mess. Zimbabwe should vote for a better system, and let's turn this ship around. And the PV bill is one of those.
Okay, and the chiefs, as you get in the community, how are the chiefs responding to you guys? Because we often hear it's so difficult to get into the rural community due to the chiefs. How have the chiefs been respond to you? And also answer, has the police been allowing you guys to be able to get out there and to do your meetings with the people? Or you've had problems with police clearances and stuff?
We've had problems with police clearances and stuff. So we're not unique. We face the same problems. The good thing now is that the date's been announced, proclamations made. We don't need police clearances anymore. You can have gatherings now, because essentially we're in campaign. But prior we were turned down even after money was spent, and they require you to go get the venue first, and then you get police clearance afterwards. We would experience that, or they'll change their mind the day before, and people have traveled, might have traveled in for the conference. So we did experience that in the past. I want to be careful not to use the word chief. They're kings. Kana kuti mambo. So atoti mambo zedu kwese kwataifa we're traveling the country. Mambo, they are happy to see us. They welcome fresh ideas. We've not experienced any pushback from them. They understand that the country's in shambles, but they're stuck. They're stuck from a political standpoint. They cannot constitutionally. I believe they cannot engage publicly in political dialogue. We simply ask for permission to talk to the people, and because they believe in freedom of speech and freedom of gathering engagement, most of them genuinely do say, no, you're welcome to talk to people. Just let's keep things cordial and not create any discord with the community. So it's been extremely welcoming on their part. The thing with these Mambo and Kings is that they're seeing something unique that the urban areas don't see. They're seeing the influence of foreign nationals in the mining sector being given parts of their land. Their ancestral lands are being affected by illicit mining deals with organizations maybe out of China, maybe out of Russia, Belarus. And so they're seeing this, and they're essentially crying out for help in this area because their ancestral land is being affected, and they're seeing influx coming in. We don't see this in any media. We don't see this in the urban areas, and in most cases, the urban area is not even aware that these things are happening. So as you travel around the country, we're seeing this. This is something that is being very consistently talked about by these communities, which is very unfortunate.
Robert Chapman, thank you very much for your time. Thank you so much for coming to talk to me right here on Galaxy Radio. It's been great. It's been amazing. But before you go, how do people get to contact DUZ? Where do people find DUZ? And your social media, your website,
Yes, all the above. They can go to our website, go to social media. The good thing is we're going to be releasing now, we're coming up on our launch. A lot of the provincial coordinators and national team a lot of them are known already as we travel. People are starting to put information out and know how to access provincial leaders or national leaders. But after the launch, this will all be public information, and there will be numbers. I know that some of our posters now in certain provinces now have phone numbers specifically for that province or for that community. Let's say I know Mtara's got a number on there. I know that various cities in Mush West have numbers on there. Harara's got numbers on there, so they can start making those phone calls or text or WhatsApp to authorized DZ groups. And the ones that are official DZ groups. There's a lot of them that are not official, but those will be out where people can communicate in real time with someone or people from their area.
Okay, all I can say is, Robert Chapman, wishing you all the best in your quest to become the president. And when you become president, I hope to come and interview you at the State House.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah. I'd love that as well.
Yeah, no, we'll keep a track of you guys and see how you guys are performing. But all I can say is wish you all the best, and thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
All right, great, super.
No, that was fantastic.